Barriers to using Web 2.0 in 21st century schools, presented by Brian Haltwanger, AEP 800, Module 5, Fort Hays State University, for Dr. Robert Moody's class. The summary of barriers to using Web 2.0 in 21st century schools is as follows. First, there's the impact of Web 2.0 on K-12 education. For the most part, it's been positive. There have been some negative aspects. Teachers complain of lack of time in using Web 2.0. All teachers are busy. They do not have time to do their work. Also, a lack of training is one of the problems. As schools trim back professional staff, sometimes the IT training gets cut back. That leads us to lack of technology support. Unfortunately, when schools cut back, some of the people on the fringes go first. IT people are some of the first to go, so we do not get the support that we need. Lack of administrative support. A lot of times principals, assistant principals are older. They did not grow up using the internet. They're not very fond of it. They realize it's a necessary evil, but they do not offer much support. School culture. Since the article, I think this has changed some, but the article discussed how sometimes labs are overbooked. There are not enough computers for all the children. Teachers don't really rely on it, and so the culture is not technology friendly. There's also the digital divide. In South Carolina, we have what we call the corridor of shame. That's about 30 miles on either side of I-95. I-95 runs north and south, about 40 miles from the coast. For about 30 miles on either side of the I-95, very poor, very bad schools, just lack of technology all the way around, from computers to internet access. The article then talked about some solutions and potential applications, like how to get rid of the digital divide and things that we can use the internet for. And it also discussed the advantages of Web 2.0, which we'll go into a little bit later, and it discussed the disadvantages of Web 2.0, which we'll also go into a little bit later. Can the digital divide be resolved? If you don't know what it is, the digital divide is basically the haves and the have-nots. There are a lot of different opinions on this, and personally, I think it can never be completely resolved. There's always going to be some people with more, some people with less. Generally speaking, the poor people have less. It's not necessarily fair, but it is the way of the world. We can narrow the digital divide. One way we can do that is put more money into districts where the divide is the widest. Just so you know, in South Carolina, the way money is allocated to schools is by property value. The higher your property value, the more taxes you pay, the more money that goes to school. Some of the rural areas have very poor property value. Property is not worth very much. A lot of farms, things like that, they get the property very cheap, which means they do not pay a whole lot of taxes, which means the schools do not get a whole lot of money. South Carolina's been working on fixing that for years, but they have not found a successful way to do it yet. The skill set for the 21st century students. These are, not all of them, but these are some of them. They're going to have to collaborate and know how to work on a team. As we move further into the 21st century, teamwork is becoming more and more important. Students are also going to be able to have to think critically. Unfortunately, this is a skill that it can be learned, but Too many students do not possess it yet, although we are getting better. Students are going to have to be creative. When they're working on projects, you can't do what was done in the past. Each project is going to have to be new and unique. Students also need to be problem solvers. If a student cannot solve a problem, they cannot gain gainful employment in the 21st century. Companies don't need them if the companies have to solve the problems for them. They also need to be technology savvy. When they go into a business to go to work, they need to know what they're doing and how they're doing it. Businesses do not want to train students on how to work technology and work with the internet. My personal use of the internet and the global economy, it's changed a good bit over the years. Some of it's for the good, some of it's for the bad. Since more people now have access to the internet, it has helped drive down costs, so that's a good thing. So more people, and people on the lower income scale, can now get it. Smart devices are cheaper and work in more places. My first smartphone, well, it wasn't a smartphone, my first phone, on one end of the couch I was fine, on the other end of the couch I was roaming. Not very reliable, and it was just expected that calls were going to drop. Very rare now for a smartphone not to work. This has also made information more accessible than ever. More people are putting stuff on the internet, more people are accessing stuff on the internet. And more countries are developing better internet capabilities for its citizens. This means I can speak with people in Italy or Germany without much thought. Some of the countries are still not as advanced as others, like China still blocks a lot of their technology to its citizens. Technology training I need more training on Google Apps. This year I changed jobs, started at a new school, and everything this school does, Francis Mack Intermediate School, is through Google Apps. I had no training on it. I was not that familiar with it. And I was just kind of told, this is what we do, go with it. So I've learned a lot, but I still feel like there's a lot more I can learn. I also need to find better apps and how I can use them. Unfortunately, I don't spend enough time researching what's out there. So most of the apps I get are from other teachers that have found them. Every once in a while I'll find one. And I also need to learn how to monitor student use better. We use a program called Hapara. Students have figured out a couple of different things with Hapara. One, if they log in on more than one device, it will not track them. Two, if they download stuff to their Google Drive, they can get to it and we cannot see it. So there's got to be ways around it, and that might be getting with Hapara and talking to them to see what they can do. Sorry for the delay. My technology is running very slow. And y'all have seen enough of this slide. Here we go. I work at a school called Francis Mack. It is an intermediate school. That means we teach 5th and 6th grade students. For a school in a rural district, a Title I school, it is pretty well up to date. Every student has a Chromebook. However, students are not allowed to take the Chromebook home. Every teacher has a Chromebook and a desktop computer. Every room has a smart board. Internet access is about 98% reliable, and most of our classwork is performed on Google Apps. The advantages of Web 2.0, it's easy to access. Anytime something's easy to access, that makes it great. I remember when the web first started, getting to it sometimes was more trouble than it was worth. Web 2.0 is reliable. Very rarely does it go down here in South Carolina. Right now there's a wealth of information on the web. People are constantly adding. Google is constantly adding. So the information is out there to be accessed as long as you know how to search for it. Web 2.0 is easy to operate. That makes it very easy for younger students to get on the internet and find out what they're doing. And one of the things I like best, it can be used outside of the classroom. As long as students have internet access, they can get to their work and do it at home, the media center, the public library, places like that. The students can work with others in a real world environment. It may be the student sitting right next to them, or it may be a student halfway around the world. But being able to work in a real world environment is great because that's what they'll be doing in the future. Web 2.0, it rocks my world. Just in case you want to know, Web 2.0, it really doesn't rock my world, but I did like the picture, and I thought it fit in fairly well here. The disadvantages of Web 2.0. One, if websites get too much traffic, they can crash. This happens sometimes when something goes viral and websites will go down. Sometimes they're down for a while. It's also happened recently with a lot of the airlines. So that's not a great thing. Also, another disadvantage is we cannot control who is on Web 2.0. Since everybody has access, as good people and bad people. Also with Web 2.0, it's hard to monitor students. We need to know what they're on, who they're talking to, what they're doing. Unfortunately, there are some software programs out there that will do it, but they're not complete, and it can lead to situations that you really shouldn't have to deal with. Web 2.0 has also led to an increase in cyberbullying. Unfortunately, this has caused some students to actually commit suicide. The cyberbullying is now being taught in school just like regular bullying. There's also cyber theft, so we have to be careful to warn students not to give out information. Identity theft. Students think that everything that they do on the web is safe, and that's not always the case. And there's internet safety. We start teaching internet safety now just as soon as the students get on the computer, first, second, third grade, and we stress it over and over again. Unfortunately, students still give out information they shouldn't, and we still end up with situations that make the news. At my school, we have not had too much cyberbullying. It does happen. We handle it through the guidance counselor, and she's pretty good at being able to shut it down. We do have some other problems, though. At Francis Mack, we have problems with students listening to music that's inappropriate. Some teachers allow them to listen to the music while they're working. Other teachers do not. The problem is that when they download it on their Google Drive, it can be songs with inappropriate lyrics, profanity, things like that. If they had their headphones on, we don't know what they're listening to. Sometimes when I walk by in another classroom, I can actually hear the music from while I'm in the hall and they have their headphones on. Students also like to play games, especially the male students. Although females are catching up, here again they can download the games on their Google Drive, and it's really not a whole lot we can do at this point to stop them other than just monitoring them as we go by. Thank you for watching my presentation. Sorry there were so many lapses in moving from screen to screen. And once again, my name is Brian Halterwanger, and I am a student at Fort Hays State University. Go Tigers!